you feel the truth underneath them. By the end of this video, you won't just hear what she says. You'll see it, you'll sense it, and you'll finally understand why your gut was never wrong. Stay till the end, because what you'll learn here isn't just how to catch a lie, it's how to protect your peace. Once you understand these 3 signs, no one will ever be able to manipulate your heart again. This isn't about anger, it's about awakening. So listen closely. What you're about to hear might just save you from the biggest emotional trap of your life. When a woman lies, the first thing that betrays her is not her words, it's her energy. You can't always see it, but you can feel it. The tone shifts, the warmth fades, the rhythm of connection changes. She'll say, "I love you," but the way she says it feels rehearsed, almost mechanical. You sense it in the small pauses, in how she looks away too quickly, or how her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. Her body still moves the same way, but her presence, her emotional signature changes. This is not about paranoia, this is about perception. Because human beings, whether they admit it or not, are experts at sensing truth beneath words. When love is real, communication flows effortlessly. There's emotional congruence. Her voice, her eyes, her touch all mirror the same feeling. You feel it as safety. But when deception creeps in, there's a fracture. Her words start moving in one direction while her energy moves in another. She tells you everything's fine, but something about her tone feels hollow. She hugs you, but it feels transactional. And here's the difficult part. Most men ignore that subtle dissonance because they don't want to believe it. They confuse comfort with truth. They think that by holding on to her words, they can drown out the silence in her energy. But the silence never lies. This emotional mismatch often begins slowly. At first, it's just distance. She becomes distracted when she's with you. Her laughter feels forced. Her affection feels scheduled. Then, when you ask what's wrong, she dismisses you with a soft, "Nothing, I'm just tired." That's the moment most men surrender their intuition. They choose peace over confrontation, hoping the warmth will return. But the truth is, once the emotional current of love breaks, it doesn't fix itself. It either deepens into honesty or collapses under pretense. Psychologically, when a person lies, especially someone emotionally intelligent, their mind splits into 2 realities. One part tells the lie, the other tries to sustain it. That duality creates emotional tension, and tension always leaks through behavior. Her body language becomes slightly defensive. Her emotional expressions become delayed, almost calculated. You'll notice micro hesitations when she says something intimate, as if she's checking if you're buying it. She's not just lying to you, she's managing your perception. That's the hidden art of emotional deception, and this is where most men lose themselves. They start adjusting to her inconsistencies. They start questioning their instincts instead of her behavior. They tell themselves, "Maybe I'm overthinking," when in reality, they're underfeeling. You see, men are taught to rationalize everything, but love isn't rational. It's energetic. When something feels off, it is off. That gut feeling you have isn't insecurity. It's your subconscious detecting a mismatch between truth and emotion. A lying woman doesn't always do it out of malice. Sometimes she lies to preserve an image, to protect herself from guilt, or to maintain control of the narrative. But regardless of the reason, the effect is the same. Her emotional alignment breaks. The woman you once knew becomes a character she's playing, and the connection turns into theater. You'll find yourself memorizing her lines, decoding her tone, trying to find the woman who once looked at you with openness. But here's the truth. Once a person starts performing love, the relationship becomes a stage. And no matter how much you give, you'll always be part of her act. Emotionally mature men learn to trust patterns, not promises. They observe whether the emotional experience matches the spoken words. Does her affection feel natural, or is it conditional? Does her presence give peace, or does it leave you more confused? Real love has consistency. It doesn't fluctuate with convenience. If her emotions don't match her words, it's not because she's complicated. It's because she's hiding something. At its core, love is authenticity. It cannot coexist with manipulation. You can't build trust on performance. When her words stop aligning with her emotional energy, you're no longer dealing with love. You're dealing with illusion. And illusions always demand effort to sustain. You'll start working harder to feel seen, while she invests more energy in maintaining control. That's not a relationship. That's psychological warfare. So stop waiting for her words to confirm what you already know deep down. Stop explaining away the emptiness you feel when she says, "I love you," without meaning it. Truth doesn't need explanation, it resonates. Lies, on the other hand, always require justification. If her actions and emotions no longer match her declarations, that's your clarity. That's your cue to stop listening to her words and start believing your intuition. Because the truth doesn't hide, it reveals itself in silence, in tone, in the energy you feel but cannot describe. Trust that. Always trust that. The moment her emotions stop matching her words, don't negotiate with the lie. Walk away with your integrity intact. Because the deepest betrayal is not when someone lies to you. It's when you lie to yourself just to keep them. The second sign she's lying to you is when her stories start changing, but her emotions stay exactly the same. You'll notice it slowly, almost innocently. The first time she tells you a story, you remember every detail because it feels real, alive, human. But then she tells it again, and something's off. The setting is different, the sequence changes, yet her delivery, her emotional tone is identical. It's as if she's pressing play on a rehearsed script. And that's because she is. A woman who lies understands that emotion is more powerful than logic. She knows that if she can make you feel something deeply, you'll stop thinking critically. She's not trying to convince your mind, she's trying to seduce your empathy. That's why her words may shift, but the emotion she attaches to them stays perfectly aligned. It's her shield. She knows if she maintains emotional consistency, you'll dismiss the factual inconsistencies. And you do, because love makes you want to believe. What's fascinating about deception is that it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's strategic. Sometimes it's born out of fear, fear of losing control, fear of being exposed, fear of facing her own truth. But regardless of the reason, the mechanism is always the same. The liar manages emotion, not information. They don't tell the most accurate story. They tell the most believable one. And belief is shaped not by facts, but by how something feels. You'll notice her tone softens at the right moments. Her tears fall on cue. Her vulnerability seems timed. When you question her, she becomes emotionally reactive, not logically clear. That's not guilt, it's deflection. She's using emotion as camouflage, knowing that your compassion is her best weapon. And that's when you begin to lose clarity. You start comforting her instead of confronting her. You shift from observer to protector, forgetting that she's the one who created the confusion. What's really happening underneath is psychological manipulation. When a person lies, they subconsciously create an emotional rhythm that feels familiar, safe, almost hypnotic. That rhythm keeps you from noticing the cracks. You become addicted to the emotional energy she projects. Whether it's her sadness, her warmth, or even her drama, it all becomes a loop that binds you, and before you realize it, you're emotionally invested in the lie because your empathy has been weaponized against you. The irony is that men often mistake emotional intensity for emotional honesty. Just because she's crying doesn't mean she's telling the truth. Tears can be tools, so can silence, so can affection. A liar doesn't always lie with words. They lie with emotions that are strategically performed to control your perception. That's why a lying woman can look genuinely hurt when you question her. She's not necessarily pretending to feel pain. She's feeling pain at the thought of being caught, not for betraying you. There's a difference, and that difference defines everything. From a psychological standpoint, emotional consistency amid factual inconsistency is one of the strongest indicators of deception. Truth is fluid. It allows for natural emotional variation. A truthful person might remember details differently, but will react with spontaneity, not perfection. A liar, on the other hand, repeats the same emotion every time because she's rehearsed it. Her story feels like a replay, not a conversation. That's how you know something's off. So when her stories start shifting, don't fixate only on what changed. Pay attention to what didn't. Her emotion, her tone, her defensiveness. That's where the truth hides. If every time she's questioned, she reacts instead of responds, you're no longer having an honest dialogue, you're entering a performance. And performances have audiences. The most dangerous part is that a skilled liar doesn't just manipulate your perception of her. She manipulates your perception of yourself. She'll make you question your memory, your judgment, even your sanity. That's gaslighting. It's psychological warfare wrapped in emotional tenderness. She'll say, "You're imagining things," or "You're too sensitive," and you'll start believing it. But you're not crazy, you're intuitive. You're simply in a situation where your empathy has been turned against you. The solution isn't to become cold or unfeeling. It's to become discerning. Start listening to patterns instead of promises. Don't be seduced by perfectly timed emotions. Real honesty is unpolished, imperfect, spontaneous. If every emotional response feels too neat, too symmetrical, too consistent, that's not truth. That's choreography. Because real love doesn't need to manipulate. It doesn't need to rehearse its emotions. It doesn't need to perform honesty. It simply is honest. The moment you realize that her stories keep changing while her emotions stay perfectly aligned, that's your moment of awakening. That's when you stop trying to fix her and start protecting yourself. And maybe the hardest truth is this: when someone's emotions never evolve, it's because their story isn't growing, it's being maintained. Lies require performance. Truth requires presence. And presence cannot be faked for long. So remember this: when her story keeps shifting but her emotions stay the same, it's not love evolving, it's a lie adapting. The third and final sign that she's lying to you is the silence. The kind of silence that doesn't bring peace but creates pressure. It's not the calm kind of silence you share when you're both comfortable in love. No, this silence is sharp. It's calculated. It's the silence that makes you question yourself. It's the moment when she stops explaining, stops arguing, and just lets the emotional distance grow. And you mistake that quiet for maturity, for space, for calmness. But in reality, it's disconnection disguised as grace. When a woman begins to lie, words become dangerous to her. Because the more she talks, the higher the chance she exposes the truth. So she starts using silence as her defense. She won't deny, she won't admit. She'll simply withdraw. And that withdrawal feels like emotional starvation. You can feel her body next to you, but her soul is somewhere else. She'll say less, she'll care less, she'll touch less. She will still smile, but the warmth behind it will vanish. That's how deception sounds. It's quiet, detached, and deliberate. What's psychologically fascinating is that silence is one of the most powerful forms of manipulation because it forces you to fill the void. You start overthinking. You start doubting yourself. You start trying to earn back the closeness that she's intentionally withholding. That's how she gains control, by making you chase what she's already taken away. It's emotional inversion. You go from being the observer to becoming the pursuer. And in that pursuit, you lose your grounding. Many men misinterpret this silence. They think she's just tired, that she needs space, or that she's processing something. But there's a difference between space and absence. When someone loves you, their silence still feels connected. You feel them even when they're not speaking. But when someone lies, their silence feels empty, almost hollow. It's a void that pulls your energy but gives nothing back. That's not space. That's emotional abandonment masked as self-control. When a woman starts lying, her silence becomes her story. It's not that she has nothing to say. It's that she doesn't want to reveal what she's already done or what she's hiding. She uses quietness as a shield, a wall between you and the truth. And here's the cruel part. That silence doesn't just hide the lie. It breaks you down slowly. It makes you question your worth, your intuition, your memories. You start replaying conversations in your head, looking for clues, trying to decode her sudden coldness. But there's nothing to decode. The silence itself is the answer. Philosophically, silence is never neutral. It either nurtures or destroys. In love, silence can be a sign of emotional safety or emotional death. And when it's the latter, you'll feel it in your bones. You'll feel like you're standing in a room full of noise, yet all you hear is her absence. That's when the relationship shifts from connection to confusion. And what's even more painful is how she uses that silence to maintain power. The less she says, the more you chase. The more you chase, the less you see. It's a psychological dance designed to keep you emotionally hooked and mentally unstable. You'll start thinking that if you just try harder, communicate better, love deeper, stay patient, she'll open up again. But that moment never comes, because her silence isn't a pause, it's a withdrawal. It's the sound of her slowly exiting without saying goodbye. Eventually, that silence turns you into someone you don't recognize. You start begging for explanations from someone who already decided to stop giving them. You start proving your loyalty to someone who's already betrayed it. And that's the moment you need to wake up, because the silence isn't something to fix. It's something to understand. It's her way of saying, without words, I'm done being real with you. There's a deep psychological truth in that realization. When a woman stops speaking from her heart, she's already somewhere else emotionally. You can't resurrect authenticity in someone who's committed to deceit. You can't heal a bond that only you're holding together. Love requires transparency. Silence kills it. Every unspoken truth creates a distance that no apology can bridge later. So the next time you feel that quiet tension, when she becomes calm instead of connected, when she avoids conversations that used to matter, don't ignore it. Don't convince yourself she's just tired. That silence is a signal, not a mystery. It's telling you everything you need to know, even if she won't. Because when her silence gets louder than her affection, when her distance feels heavier than her words, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in a waiting room, waiting for honesty that will never come. The truth is, silence can be more violent than words. It's not the absence of communication. It's the presence of avoidance. It's her final act of control, the last tool she uses to rewrite the story without having to face you directly. And once you understand that, you stop trying to fix the silence and start listening to what it's really saying. Because when her silence starts to scream louder than her words, that's not love fading. That's truth escaping.